Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we have here a little bit of irony, but it also actually a serious breach of the law. With one hand, the Scottish Government is trying to bring in this stupid rule about temporary accommodation having to meet various licensing agreements, and you have to have this and that and the other. It must hit minimum standards, there must be this and that. And of course, it's a very expensive thing, and it's going to see tens upon tens of thousands of properties of short-term lets coming off the market. Just gone. They'll just go. And it will plunge Scotland's tourism industry into abject chaos. Another side effect of this, of course, is that those properties cannot also be used to house temporary tenants, where people have come in and the councils require temporary accommodation at short term to fulfil legal obligations. So now all those properties have gone. And that is going to create a massive, massive problem. And that is where the irony comes in, because Scots councils are already breaking the law on putting people into temporary housing that is unfit for purpose and is breaching the law, and they've done so over 11,000 times in just 18 months. And now they're going to lose all these short-term lets, which would otherwise be up to standard and could be good enough and used. Do you think the housing problem in Scotland is going to get better or worse? Let's look at this article, and it doesn't make for good reading. Here goes. So, Scots councils break unfit housing law 11,000 times in just 18 months. Let's just move that across a bit. There we go. They've changed the format of their page on the Herald, and it's really annoying. Anyway, so what they have a legal obligation to house certain people, even in temporary accommodation, just until they can find a permanent home. So there are vulnerable people must by law be housed. And so sometimes they use temporary accommodation. Unfortunately, this temporary accommodation is so bad, it is not fit for purpose, and it is illegal to put these people into it. And yet they've got nothing else. And so they are putting people into these places that are breaching the law. Now, of course, there were lots and lots of temporary accommodation that they could have used, bedsits and not bedsits, B&Bs and things like that. But they're all gone now because of this stupid law that's been brought in. So maybe 100,000 beds gone in Scotland that could have been used for, temporary accommodation, gone because of the Licensing Act. So they've gone, so they can't use them anyway. So the problem is not going to get any better. But anyway, councils across Scotland breached the law that prevents the homeless from being placed in unsuitable temporary accommodation more than 11,000 times over a year and a half, the Herald and Sunday can reveal. Some 23 out of Scotland's 32 local authorities have admitted breaches of the unsuitable accommodation order, which is legally binding and ensures that people have access to decent living conditions. Now, I would suggest that every single individual case, all 11,000 plus of these, needs to be prosecuted. And that the officers who've housed these people need to be held responsible. They are the ones that have personally signed off. This isn't a council issue. These are housing officers that have personally signed off on putting these people into those homes, into unsuitable homes. This is a health and safety issue. And health and safety doesn't just stop at organisations, it goes down to individuals. So sure, sue the councils, but then also prosecute the individual housing officers that sign these people into those accommodations. Let's see then how the problem changes like that. The details gathered by the Herald and Sunday from local authorities show that the rate of breaches shot up from an average of nearly 540 a month last year to around 800 a month so far this year. So that's about 25 a day. 25 a day going into illegal accommodation. And the problem, of course, is only going to get worse. Homelessness is going to increase. Accommodations are being wiped out because not only, of course, are you getting rid of the bed and breakfasts, but this constant attack on landlords means that there's fewer and fewer rental properties available for these people. So everything that the SNP government are doing is designed to increase homelessness deliberately. Again, they have been told about the consequences of what they're doing, and again, they've ignored that and proceeded to do it. And now, again, homelessness is being deliberately increased by policy. And this is why I say these people are traitors. We've gone on. They've done the economy. We've done the economy this morning. We've done police. We're now doing homelessness. We've done the sectors over the last few days. Oil, tourism, everything. They are deliberately destroying everything and I keep saying it, but it's the only way. It is a scorched earth policy, and it's deliberate. It's absolutely deliberate. There were nearly 6,500 breaches in 2022, and in the first half of this year there were over 4,800 infringements just in the first half. 10 of the local authorities have registered higher numbers of breaches in the first 6 months of this year than for the whole of 2022. Housing campaigners have described the position as a scandal and are demanding ministers act to improve living conditions for the nation's most vulnerable. They are also concerned that no action has been taken to enforce the law on the rights of the homeless, which appear to be broken as a matter of course because nobody cares. The homeless don't get to vote. And so why do these people bother helping the homeless? There's no votes in it. And there's going to be more and more homeless because the cost of living is going to mean people can't hit mortgage payments, can't hit rent payments. Rents are going up. Landlords are forced to put rents up because of the extra costs involved by putting stuff onto legislation. You've got the short-term going, everything. They've put more onerous rules on landlords. Landlords are selling up and churning it. Those rental properties are coming off the market. The ones that are left, the law of demand and supply and demand means that rents go up. There's more and more homelessness, fewer and fewer homes, and so more and more breaches of the law. And it's all deliberate. It's all to a policy to destroy everything. In 2019, the then First Minister Nicola Sturgeon said that breaches should not be tolerated, and it would consider introducing sanctions on those councils that fail to comply as part of the plans to transform temporary accommodation. You don't need to bring sanctions in. Health and safety law exists. If you're putting someone in an inappropriate home, that is a health and safety breach. You sue the council and you sue the individual. That's the only way changes are going to happen. At that point, there were just 750 breaches in a year. 750 breaches in a year and a half. A fraction of the numbers currently being reported. And like I say, it's a problem that's going to get worse. A property is deemed unsuitable if it does not meet certain criteria. For example, it is not wind and watertight, it does not meet minimum safety standards, or lacks adequate bedrooms, toilet and personal washing facilities. Experts say that the order to prevent the longer term use of bed and breakfast accommodation, hostels, hotels and shelters. But you've got no option. You've got no option because there is nothing. They'll be coming out next with sturdy, rigid boxes for the homeless. Make them waterproof boxes, so at least they can sleep out the rain and out of the wind, but they're still on the streets in their little boxes. And you housing minister the tourism minister the other day saying, yeah, we're getting rid of all the B&Bs, everyone needs to go tenting. Well, they will be, but when the whole of Sucky Hall Street is covered in tents, like the front, if ever you see the pictures of Venice Beach in LA, and it's just homeless everywhere, that's what this is going to be. But they shouldn't be sleeping in the town centres. They should go to the rich parts of Edinburgh, the rich parts of Glasgow, the rich parts of everywhere. Sleep where these MPs live. Pitch your tent outside their doors. Get your cardboard boxes and your sleeping bags right by their golf courses. Let me tell you, then the problem would soon go away. Experts say that the order seeks to... I've just done that bit, sorry. Local authorities are in breach when placing a homeless household in accommodation not meeting the minimum standards for the order for more than 7 days. And Scotland's biggest city has the highest number of breaches at over 6,000 over the year and a half to July this year. And it's just a set of figures saying who does what and where. But if they started seeing pictures like that or images like that when they were coming out of their houses, these MSPs and MPs would do anything to change it. But they won't. Because they quite literally, firstly, they don't care. And secondly, it is deliberate policy. They're driving Scotland into some kind of nightmare. It's a Victorian rookeries, squalid background. The crime, the destitution, the poverty, the misery. And it is a deliberate policy by this SNP government. They are traitors. I'm stopping and I'm coming up. So there they are. On one hand telling people, oh, you can't have a B&B unless you pay all this money and get your licences and bring them up to spec. And on the other hand, they're putting vulnerable people into shitty accommodation that actually breaks the law. You couldn't make it up. You absolutely couldn't make it up. And they are deliberately, by their policies, making this worse. They are dragging it down to some kind of Dickensian nightmare, some kind of backward, poverty-strewn, third world failed state. But that is obviously what they want. They don't want whoever's coming next to have any hope at all at doing something good. They're evil. They're just plain evil. Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that this will have driven you all the way to pushing that button and subscribing, just simply out of anger. And to, of course, hit the like button. That's equally as important. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and for heaven's sake, get rid of these absolute monsters. Bye.